Welcome to Fireside Giants. My name is Alex with my co-host here, Anthony Rivardo. What a crazy day on Friday. Out of nowhere, NFL start making moves, blew the NBA trade deadline out of the water. Suddenly teams are moving up and down the draft boards, and it's getting a little crazy, even before the draft, a month before, really. I had no idea this was coming, and I'll list you, some of these drafts that are going down right now. The Dolphins are trading the number 3 overall pick to the San Francisco 49ers for the number 12 overall pick, a 2021 third-round pick, and first-round picks in 2022 and 2023. The Dolphins just fleeced San Francisco. Obviously, they want a top 3 quarterback, whether it's Zach Wilson or Justin Fields. I think that Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson will be off the board, 1 and 2. I think they're probably going to end up with Justin Fields. They said Jimmy Garoppolo is going to be their starter moving forward.
I heard they're targeting Trey Lance. That's their target at 3.
That would actually be very surprising, but honestly, I could see it happening. I mean, Trey Lance, very talented player, but some people thought he would fall past the top 10. Clearly, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the mix now. I think 4 of them could go in the top 10, maybe even the top 5. So that's really interesting. And then you have minutes later, the Eagles moving back, trading their 6th-round pick to the Dolphins for the number 12 pick and the 22nd first-round pick. This is just so many picks flying around. The Giants are sitting there like Charlie Brown after Christmas with his dead tree. No idea what's going on around him. And here we go. The Eagles making moves. Now they're one stop. They lost their last game on purpose, which was evident if you watched the game. And now suddenly they're 1 pick behind the Giants, which gives us a little bit of hope that maybe we end up landing a premium talent. And there's a lot of great players. If these quarterbacks go off the board in the top 5, the Giants could easily be sitting there with some amazing players. Even consider a trade back, Anthony. What are you thinking about these trades? What do you think the Giants should do in this scenario? It really just shakes up the mock draft board entirely.
Yeah, the mock draft board has changed completely, and I can't say that I'm surprised by this. I expected there to be at least one team that trades up into the top 5 to, draft a quarterback. I didn't think it would happen a month away from the draft, but, sometimes these things happen a day before, sometimes they happen a month before. Who knows? It's always random. But I don't think this is it. I think there's a good chance that another team tries to trade up as well, and I think that one would probably happen on draft night. But I don't think that this is it. I think what we see with the draft board right now, the draft order, is very interesting now that these 2 trades have gone down. But I don't think this is it. I think that probably another team is going to trade up. There's supposed to be 4 quarterbacks to go within the top 8 picks: Trey Lance, Justin Fields, and of course the big 2 at the top, right? So I think, for San Francisco, I'm going to give my opinion for them. I think this is a great move by them. I know they gave up a lot, but they're hopefully getting their quarterback of the future. If he pans out, this could be what pushes them over the edge and makes them a Super Bowl winning team, right? Not just a Super Bowl playing team, but a Super Bowl winning team. That elite quarterback could potentially make them that Super Bowl champion. So I think it's a great move for them. You got to shoot for the stars. I keep making this argument. It's, a boom or bust thing, and they're going for the boom. And I really respect that for the 49ers. Now with the Dolphins, what they've done is phenomenal. They traded Laremy Tunsil, turned him into 4 first-round picks. Unbelievable what they've done. Their front office is excellent. They're just killing the game. They're literally playing like Madden level. They're just doing it better than pretty much every other general manager in the NFL, every other front office. So Dolphins are awesome. Now they're at the 6th pick. I think that's interesting because at the 3rd pick, they were pretty much considering, do we want to draft a wide receiver or Penei Sewell? Now at the 6th pick, they're probably going to be wondering, do we want to draft a wide receiver or Penei Sewell? So phenomenal move by them. They didn't move back that far, and pretty much their same options are still on the board. And then for the Giants, of course, how does this affect them? Well, this means guaranteed 3 quarterbacks in the top 3 picks, maybe even 4 in the top 5. That's what that means. So that means that all those other talented players at every other position, Giants aren't drafting a quarterback, but they're looking at pretty much every other top 10 player on this board and saying, we want one of those guys. There's a really good chance that one of them falls to the Giants now, whether that be Kyle Pitts, whether that be Jamar Chase, Jalen Waddle, even Penei Sewell. I've seen him go 2-11 to the Giants after these trades. This is, everybody's making their first post-trades mock drafts. I've actually seen a couple of them have Penei Sewell drop to 11 now, which would be unbelievable. Home run selection for the Giants. Hard to believe that he actually does get outside of the top 10, but now it's much more likely now that we have teams moving up to get quarterbacks. So that's really exciting for the Giants. Can't wait to see what happens. We're just about a month away from the draft, and I think this is going to be one really intriguing NFL draft this year.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hyped as hell. It's a month away, and the Giants really have just an open door to what they want to do. There's so many players available, like Anthony just mentioned. Penei Sewell, if he drops, easy pick. You still got Micah Parsons, who just absolutely slayed his pro day, running a 4.39 or somewhere between 4.35 and 4.4. He was, super fast. Jason Owe, obviously, in the second round, I think would be a phenomenal pick. But the Giants have an opportunity here because they could easily say, okay, you know what? Look what the value these picks are getting right now. It's incredible. And if there's a really, really big talent, like let's say Jalen Waddle or Penei Sewell drops to 11 and a team's like, I gotta have one of those players. There is pretty much a guarantee right now that if you trade back, let's say they go back to the Patriots at 15, or go a couple picks back to 20, you're guaranteeing yourself a second round pick. You are getting a second round pick and possibly and probably more. Now you have the ability to plug multiple holes. That's why I'm kind of in this. I think the Giants should consider trading back if someone is willing to make an offer and if there's a lot of really great talent on the board, because you could trade back and still land Jeremiah, Owusu-Koramoah, who, I just took a look at. Anthony's looked at extensively. Elite coverage linebacker, elite run stopper. The guy is an all-around, perfect linebacker for the Giants, especially for their scheme fit. Very creative things that Patrick Graham could do with him. You could still move back and get a guy like Gregory Rousseau. Kwity Paye might be there. And there's a ton of tackles. Vera Tucker. Obviously, you have Samuel Cosme. There's a ton of guys. Rashawn Slater might even drop a couple spots. Who knows? This is an opportunity for the Giants to say, let's fix these problems that we've created ourselves on the offensive line, that right guard spot. We just got rid of Kevin Zeitler. I don't trust Shane Lemieux one single bit as a starting right guard with no competition. Zach Fulton, I know they signed him. Don't trust him either. If you get another second-round pick, you can get yourself a day one plug-and-play right guard and a day one plug-and-play outside linebacker, whether it's Joseph Acai, Jason Owe. You could get Wyatt Davis, Creed Humphrey, Alex Leatherwood in the second round. Tons of guys available. And in the first round, you can still land a premium talent like JOK or Gregory Rousseau, who could play outside linebacker. In my opinion, I think he can make the transition. Or you could land an offensive tackle. That you could plug and play right tackle. Vera Tucker is one of them. Anthony did a really great write-up yesterday on him. So, go check that out. But there's a lot of avenues the Giants can explore now. They must be super, super happy. They can basically wait, see how the draft unfolds if they wanted to, and just be like, okay, we're going to take the best player available, and we're gonna overhaul a position, whether it's a wide receiver or linebacker like Micah Parsons, or offensive guard, offensive tackle. So many things they can do, Anthony. I'm really excited for this draft because we haven't been in such a good position in a while, and just seeing the Eagles trade back one spot and be behind us is just the icing on top of the cake. It's so funny how they tanked that game and now are behind us in the draft after everyone's like, oh, they're going to get Kyle Pitts. Kyle Pitts can even drop.
I have a different take on that. I think that Philadelphia, they gained an additional first round.
I know.
Pick
well, it's good for them
so
in the future, but now
they're picking
they might lose out
behind
on
us.
the best.
But I don't think that's anything for Giants fans to really celebrate. They're one pick behind us, and they still have a chance of landing whoever they wanted at 6, depending on how this draft board falls now. Yeah, plus, they have an extra first-round pick next year, which is,
I would argue, though, they got it from Miami. I think Miami's going to be better than you think next year, and I think that pick is going to be,
better than I think? I think Miami is going to go pretty deep in the playoffs.
Or better than some people think. That's what I'm saying, though. That pick could end up being
it doesn't matter. It's still a first-round pick, bro. It's true.
It's true. It's true, but I'm saying it's not sick. It's not Jamar Chase. It's not Kyle Pitts. It's not Penei Sewell, likely. You know what I mean? Instead of...
Yeah, I know. Yeah, no, they're not going to get one of those guys.
But
they're probably getting Devontae Smith at 11, or at 12.
They might. Well, I'm seeing somebody else. So there was another team that was apparently.
I actually wouldn't be shocked if Kyle Pitts falls to 12 either. I don't know if the Giants are going to be sold on taking him at 11.
I don't think the Giants can pass on
Evan Engram. I don't think that they should. I don't think that they would either. But
you could trade Evan Engram.
I think that's what they would ultimately do if Kyle Pitts is on the board. I think they would take him and probably look to move Evan Engram. But
that'd be a gold
you never know.
Strike.
It's really hard to read the Giants sometimes in terms of their positional value and the value they place on elite prospects. So I don't know. But
that's fair. The Giants are very confusing. I just hope they don't blow it like the past couple years where we know their pick 2 weeks in advance. I really hope that they keep it under wraps. I agree with you. Although, dude, they had 3 players. They had 3 people watching Micah Parsons yesterday. They had Coach Joe Judge, Patrick Graham, and somebody else. I forget who the third person was, but pretty interesting. I saw Patrick Graham and Joe Judge speaking to Micah Parsons. And he has the connection. He has the Spence Chaos, the defensive line coach for the Giants, Coach Chaos. really close with Micah Parsons. I think if he's there, I don't know if he's going to get past the Giants at 11, man. I really think they're going to say, this is a building block on defense. We can build around him. He's going to overhaul our linebacker unit. He can be a above average outside linebacker day one. And he ran a ridiculous speed. I don't hold much value in the 40 dash, but for the most part, this kid is an extreme athlete. If the off-field stuff comes back clean, if Coach Chaos vouches for him and says he's not going to be a problem, I think that Micah Parsons will be really, really hard to pass on. But Anthony, I'll give you a scenario. If Rashawn Slater and Micah Parsons are on the board, which one are you taking at 11?
Oof. Oh, man, Rashawn Slater or Micah Parsons? That's actually a really, really tough question. I think if you're going best player available, you're going Micah Parsons. I think he is the better talent in terms of, he really was entering this season a top 5 lock, right? He was a top 5 talent in the draft. Some things happened. He slid down some draft boards. Understandable. Rashawn Slater never really was a top 5 lock. For a while, he was considered a top 20 lock. Then he shot up draft boards and became a top 10 pick. So I think when you're talking about best player available, who's the better talent, you're probably taking Micah Parsons. But if you are considering, these guys are both really talented. So here's the way that the Giants did it with Daniel Jones, right? They had Daniel Jones and Josh Allen, according to Dave Gettleman, were on the same board, but because they cared more about addressing one position than the other, they went with Daniel Jones, right? So let's say that you have Rashawn Slater here on your draft board, and then Micah Parsons is also here, right? They have the same overall grade, and you're the Giants. If you're going for need, you probably go with Rashawn Slater just because you can do that if you have the same draft grade on both players. So you really can't go wrong there. But I think personally, I don't know. It's going to be really hard to pass up on Micah Parsons with the 11th overall pick. If you would have told me 5 months ago Micah Parsons is going to be there at 11 for the Giants to take, I would have said, yeah, right. Okay, he's going in the top 5. Not a chance. But now you're legitimately talking about him being a realistic option for the Giants at 11. So I think that if he's there, now that we've pretty much put to bed all of the allegations, it seems like people have really moved on from that, and it seems like people are now forgiving the fact that he clearly had some things happen back then. He hasn't denied it either. What he said was at his pro day, I don't want to be brought into a locker room where I'm judged on things that I did when I was 17 years old. So he's definitely admitting to doing some stuff, but he's saying that he's grown a lot and, now he's a father, all that stuff. So, and I think that's a good outlook on it. So I think people are really moving past the allegations and everything off the field with him. So I think that's interesting. And I think now that that's been cleared up, if he's there at 11, you got to take him because he is some talent and he would really change the face of the Giants defense.
Look, if he did this stuff at 17 years old, I'll tell you what, and part of my language, I did stupid shit when I was 17 too. I know everyone's done some stupid shit when they were 17, when they were younger. That shit is a little crazy, a little bit bigger shit. But I will say, if he's moved past that, if he's accepted responsibility and accountability, and they know that's not going to happen again, Coach Chaos vouches for him, I think that they would be okay selecting him because I don't think Joe Judge is going to let him do that crap again. I don't think that this coaching staff is going to let him get away with any stuff like that. I don't think Leonard Williams would. I don't think Logan Ryan would. I don't think James Bradbury would. I sure as hell don't think Jabril Peppers would, who I think he would take under his wing.
Joe Judge would not let that stuff fly.
Joe Judge
would walk
would,
in there and
beat
the hell out of Micah Parsons single-handedly like he did to Mark Colombo. I just made that joke in the last episode, but I like it because Joe Judge is the Terminator in my eyes.
Yeah, talk about more allegations. That would be insane. Your coach beating the crap out of the player. But for the most part, we'll see how this progresses. I think, like Anthony said, a lot of people are starting to move past. There's different reports saying that the allegations are not true. They're not as crazy as people are making them out to be. I've seen things say that they are as crazy. I have no idea. Most people don't know. We're all just taking it based on what the media tells us. And if we can say anything about the media, 99% of the time, full of crap. Absolutely full of crap. And you have to really look at many different things, many different sources to figure out, what actually is going on here. And only the team really knows what happened. Like, we don't know what happened. You don't know what happened. The team knows. So we'll see what happens in the future. If Coach Chaos, who was there and present for that kind of thing, if vouches for Micah Parsons, I don't think they're going to have a problem taking him. But he is a top 5 player in any draft. You know what I mean? He is a top 5 player at 11, and if there's no, let's say there was 2 good quarterbacks on the board, not 4 or 5 at this point. There's not 4 or 5 quarterbacks that could go in the top 10. There's maybe 2 in a normal draft, maybe 1 in a normal draft. Micah Parsons is a top 5 pick to to a team that can use him and build their defense around him. The Giants already have an expected elite defense in 2021. They're if they add Micah Parsons, it's unfair. Their defense is going to be sick. Like, sick with a capital S. You know what I mean? It's going to be exciting to see a defense with a guy like that on it. And with that being said, I'm not justifying his actions in the past. He still needs to be held accountable for them. And if teams feel as though he did those things and they know for a fact that he did those things, he should drop. He should be held accountable for that. But I don't think Joe Judge is gonna punish him for something he did when he was 17 years old. Because I know a lot of people have done a lot of dumb stuff at 17 and turned out to be just fine, turned out to be even better people down the road. So I don't want to write him off. Like, I'm thinking about DeAndre Baker. He learned a huge lesson from what he got involved in, and hopefully he's learned from that. It's just terrible. So we'll see how that goes. But that was just I wanted to go through this kind of draft situation just a little prematurely because all the moves that were being done today really shook me up specifically. But this episode specifically is supposed to be talking about the pass rush, and Michael Parsons is kind of relevant to that. But let's talk about who we have on the roster currently: Lorenzo Carter, Ocean Ximenez, Carter Coughlin. I think Jabal Shaird's gone. We got Ryan Anderson from Washington. A couple of good players. Nobody that I'm overly ecstatic about. But some guys are going to be productive. I'm willing to bet that Ryan Anderson, Ocean Ximenez, and Lorenzo Carter are far more productive than Carter Coughlin and Jabal Shared were last year. And I'm sure Anthony would agree with that. We had 40 sacks last year. Not great, not terrible. Most of it was interior, and most of it was coverage sacks and just interior pass rush. We still have Leonard Williams, still have Dexter Lawrence, who I think is going to take a huge step forward. But getting Lorenzo Carter and Ocean Ximenez back, it's going to be huge. They're both pretty much healthy. I saw clips of Ocean Ximenez, Pratt training. He looks good. I saw Lorenzo Carter training in Manhattan. He looks good. So I think for the most part, they're going to be 100% healthy, ready to go. Now, Anthony, do you feel confident that they can actually produce at an even moderate, adequate level in 2021? Or do you think the Giants need to draft somebody there?
I think the Giants' pass rush is going to be even better this year. I think here's why, okay? I think that the loss of Dalvin Tomlinson is kind of huge for this defense because you're taking away some one-on-one opportunities for Leonard Williams, right? He had such a great year because there were so many double teams being given to Dexter Lawrence and to Dalvin Tomlinson, opened up a lot of one-on-ones for Leonard Williams, right? So I think that's going to be a huge loss until the Giants ultimately replace Dalvin Tomlinson in the first 3 rounds of the draft, and then it pretty much supplements the loss. I think that's what's going to happen there. Now, I think the pass rush is going to be better whether the Giants draft somebody or not because of this reason alone. The Giants' secondary should be a top 5 unit in the NFL. Coverage sacks are going to happen, like a lot more than they have in the past for the Giants. It's actually really exciting to think about. Like, the Giants have really good corners now with James Bradbury. Darnay Holmes is going to come into his own in his second year, make a nice step forward. And then Adoree Jackson, if he jumps back from that injury and becomes a CB1 level talent that we know he can be, you're talking about the Giants' defense shutting down opposing wide receivers week in and week out. And you're talking about the pass rush having all day to get to the quarterback and eventually getting to the quarterback. That's how that works. Just coverage sacks are going to happen. So I think the Giants' sack production total is going to remain constant or even improve this year. I don't necessarily think they need to get a pass rusher early on in the draft. Don't even think they have to do it within the first 2 rounds. Think if they do, it'll help. It'll be good. But I really think mostly the Giants are, I think they're in a really good spot with their defense. I think the defense is constructed really well to a point where they're going to get a lot of interior pass rush, which is really good with Dexter Lawrence and Leonard Williams. That's always a plus. And then I think we're also getting those coverage sacks as well. I think that the secondary is going to have a lot to do with the way that the Giants pass rush performs this year, and I think that's exciting too.
Yeah. It's going to be kind of interesting to see how they scheme this pass rush and if they, allocate a draft pick toward it. That's kind of why I was on the trade back train, because if you do get an extra second round pick, you can really look to plug a pass rush hole and offensive line hole in the second round. But Micah Parsons, man, he could do both. That's kind of what keeps coming back into my mind. He's going to be an above average outside linebacker for the Giants if they draft him. And he's going to be someone that can pair up and drop back into coverage and really stop the run at a very high level. If you watch his film, he is a just an absolute tank playmaker at every single spot. And we looked at JOK as well. Different players. JOK is more refined as a coverage linebacker and as a run stopper, but he's not going to rush the passer with legitimate pass rush moves like Micah Parsons. The Giants have needs at both. It really depends on how they value those needs and what they think needs more bolstering. If they have the opportunity to take one of them or trade back and get JOK and add an asset, so that's an interesting concept. What if you trade back, get JOK, you get second round pick, and then you get a pass rusher and an offensive guard or offensive tackle in the second round? Then you kill two birds with one stone. You get the pass cover linebacker and run stopper, and you get a pass rusher in the second round. So it's good arguments both ways, I think. But for the most part, this pass rush is going to be interesting. I still have faith in Oshane Ximines and Lorenzo Carter. I think Carter was coming on. He was sealing the edge pretty well before he went down that first game against Dallas. And, I'm pretty confident he's going to be okay, but Achilles injuries can take 18 months to heal. There's no guarantee he's going to be ready for the regular season or if he's going to be the same player at all. That's kind of a concern for me. In addition to that, I think Oshane Ximines is going to be just fine. He'll be ready to go, but he's also a third-round pick coming out of Old Dominion 2 years ago. How much confidence do we really have after not seeing much production from him? He kind of just disappeared in the second year, and then he just stopped. He had the shoulder injury, and then things kind of went downhill for him. He only played in 4 games. He had 5 combined tackles. Not really anything to write home about. 3 quarterback hits, 0 sacks his rookie season. He had 4.5 sacks, which was better. 9 quarterback hits. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens with this pass rush. But Anthony, are there any second day pass rushers that really stand out to you? I'm not the biggest Gregory Rousseau fan personally. I don't think the Giants should go after him at 11. Some people continue to batter the horn or the drum rather that Gregory Rousseau would be a great pick at 11. I disagree entirely. I don't think so. What do you think about the second round? Because I don't think Quiddy Pay would be a good scheme fit for us.
I mean, you know me, I'm not too crazy about the top of this edge class. I'm not, crazy about Gregory Rousseau. I think that he'd be better on the interior, not really what the Giants are looking for. And I kind of feel like Quiddy Pay, freak athlete. I think he's really athletic, and there's a lot to mold there, but I don't know if he's necessarily that guy for the Giants in terms of what they want to do with their scheme either. Jalen Phillips, I think, would be perfect for our scheme if the medicals check out, but that's a huge if because he almost retired due to medicals a few years ago, right? So that's really interesting, but he is a guy that has legitimate pass rush moves and plays that 3-4 outside linebacker, edge rusher. He can do that. So I think Jalen Phillips, if he didn't have these medical problems, would probably be a top 10 pick in this year's draft. But looking in the second round, or day 2, right? Jason Owe, freak athlete, right? Ran a 4.36, I think, at, 6'5", 257 pounds out of Penn State. What is in the water at Penn State? Why does this keep happening? How does this keep happening? The Saquon Barkley pro day that blew everybody away. Micah Parsons and Jason Owe pro day just blew everybody away. What is in the water at Penn State? How do I get some of that for my flag football season? I want to dominate the field the way that they do. I need some of that water. Okay. Jason Owe is definitely a name to keep an eye on, especially because of the connection to the coaching staff, right? Sean Spencer, former Penn State coach, is now our defensive line coach. Absolutely, I'm sure he would love to have Jason Owe on this team in the second round. Might make a lot of sense. Freak athlete, you can mold him. And I prefer to get the freak athlete that you can mold in round 2 than I would in round 1. That's why I actually do like Jason Owe as a round 2 pick. Quincy Roach out of Miami, another guy. Miami has 3 edge rushers that should go in the top 2-3 rounds this year. That's pretty interesting. Definitely a guy to keep an eye on. Kind of, I think Quincy Roach would be similar to a guy like Oshane Ximines, a 3rd-round pick that you just take a chance on, hope he develops eventually. But really is going to be a solid rotational pass rush regardless. Joseph Acai is another guy out of Texas. We've talked about him before. I think he's really interesting. Has a really nice story and has pretty good hands, and he's a pretty solid player that I think could be considered in round 2, round 3. But Carlos Basham Jr., actually, that's another guy that I kind of really like out of Wake Forest. Really heavy guy, 281 pounds. So he's probably a guy that puts his hand in the dirt eventually. Well, I don't know, because he's only 6'3", so I don't think he plays on the interior, but he is heavy. I think that he's kind of one of those guys, I think to Justin Houston almost, right? Let's make that comparison of the Chiefs, right? When he was really good, he was very large, very heavy, but came off of the edge, was a pretty solid pass rusher, but was also a really good run defender. I think maybe that's what you're looking at with Carlos Basham. If you take a chance on him in the 3rd, 4th round, you're kind of hoping that he turns into a really good run defending edge rusher. So I think those are some guys to keep an eye on, but really outside of, the couple names I mentioned, Jason Owe, Jalen Phillips, and then, the top guys, no one really stands out to me in this edge class, jumps off the board and is like, oh, that's a mid-round gem that the Giants need to target. I really don't see that this year. Maybe I just haven't, gone deep enough and dived deep enough, but I don't really see anything that, jumps out to me for the Giants in those middle rounds, though I'm sure they will take a chance on someone later in the draft, as they do every year on the edge.
Yeah, I think third rounds where they're going to actually end up getting an outside linebacker unless they go Micah Parsons, which then I feel as though they might just utilize him in that way. With Carter and Ximenez, just kind of get creative with how they utilize those guys. But that's kind of what makes Parsons so attractive, his versatility, the ability to move him to middle linebacker next to Blake Martinez, and also use him as an outside linebacker and rotate with Ximenez and Lorenzo Carter. And then, of course, you have Carter Coughlin, who had some snaps. Cam Brown is still around. He was I think a 6th-round pick for us last year. So I think, the Giants have some pieces. No one extraordinary, no one elite, but we'll see how they go about this position because it's getting a little worrisome. I think the offensive line's a little bit more of a problem at the moment, which poses that big question. Do they go Rashawn Slater or Michael Parsons if they're both on the board? Really tough to answer that right now. It really depends on how they value, their positions and where they think they can get the most value. Because I think the Giants feel good about Matt Parrott and Nate Solder at right tackle. I think they feel okay with that. It's the right guard spot that I know for a fact that they're going to be drafting. They're going to probably go 2nd round right guard and go best player available, which probably will be Micah Parsons at 11. Rashawn Slater is a very talented player, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you he's better than Micah Parsons because I would be lying. Rashawn Slater didn't play last year. A lot of his hype is coming off of minimal film, I would say, and a lot of his tangible traits. His physical traits are phenomenal. He's a super smart guy. A team's going to get really lucky with him, but Micah Parsons is a can't-miss player.
I think Rashawn Slater, the main reason he is up on draft boards right now is because of what he did to Chase Young, and I think that that's something that you look at for the Giants and you say, well, we have to face Chase Young twice a year. This guy might make a lot of sense for us. This was the one guy that season, 2019, that kind of deleted Chase Young in his pass
DeMarcus
sacks.
Lawrence, too. Doesn't get easier.
Right, yeah, of course. We go up against great pass rushers every year, but the guy that we got to focus on for the next 10, 15 years probably is, freaking Chase Young, who's probably going to be tormenting us 4 years every, but Andrew Thomas handled that pretty well. But you got the guy, Andrew Thomas, who knows how to handle Chase Young. Put on the other side, potentially, Rashawn Slater, the one guy who literally just deleted him in pass sets in 2019, the only one who was able to do it. Might be a really enticing selling point for the Giants and for Rashawn Slater to the Giants in the first round, and really to any team in the first round that's looking at going offensive tackle. They're going to look at that 2019 Northwestern versus Ohio State game. They're going to say, Rashawn Slater deleted Chase Young. That's exciting. Kind of need to get that on my team. I think that's the mindset that a lot of players and a lot of scouts have when watching Rashawn Slater film this offseason.
Yeah, guys, so that's kind of a little spiel on, who the Giants should potentially take at 11 with everything kind of going down right now. It'll change. The draft is going to be crazy. There's going to be a lot of movement, in my opinion at least. There already is, obviously. And kind of what's up with the pass rush, because that's a position of concern right now for people. So I think, we're going to have to address that at some point, whether it be with Micah Parsons, another player, or I doubt they're going to go free agent signing because they really just don't have much money left after this huge free agency haul. But I think we're in okay shape. I feel good about what we have on defense right now. I think Patrick Graham can get the most out of some of these players if they stay healthy. That's the major point. And then having 2 lockdown corners, they can send Jabril Peppers, they can send safeties and linebackers on blitzes more, so really overwhelm opposing offensive lines. They're going to get creative with it. I'm super excited to see this defense take another step forward in terms of the schematics of it, just getting more detailed, more refined, and being able to send more guys in the blitz. That's Patrick Graham's MO. He loves that. And I'm really excited to see that in the near future, guys. So, as always, thank you so much for tuning in to Fireside Giants, hanging out with us for a little bit. Hope you guys made it through the 30 minutes. I know it's a beautiful Friday in New York right now. Please have an awesome weekend. Go get some happy hour drinks in. Really hoping that you guys have a fantastic day and rest of your weekend. Make sure to subscribe below on YouTube, turn on notifications on Apple and Spotify. Much love as always, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.